Good afternoon, everybody. You are listening to WZRD Chicago. It is The Wizard, freeform since 1974, and we have a very special guest here today. We've got Syzygal here in the studio, both Anna and Mitchell. Mickey, Mitchell, hey, you know, there they go. Yeah. So we've got both Anna and Mickey here in the studio. A little clap for them. Heard a little bit of jazz there. Syzygal just came out with their debut album, Right Path. Believe that came out. When did you guys release Right Path?
February 2nd.
February
2022.
Ooh, yeah, right before Valentine's Day. That was a good one, huh? That's a good time to get that. I just started listening to them myself. We've been sort of previewing a little bit of your music the last few weeks. We just had a little bit of a conversation here, you wonderful Wizard listeners, talking a little bit about how they got started, how I discovered them. I saw their performance over at Sacred Rose. That was on the 27th of August. That was just a few weeks ago, and it just lit me up. It really started the weekend off in such a great way. I had such a great time. Everybody in attendance seemed to like really get their dancing feet together, really, you know, lit up their faces. Everybody was like, this is what we're all here together for. It's been, for me, so long since I've been to festivals with the COVID going on and everything like that. Maybe tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Yeah, sure. So I had a previous band called Future Rock that I was in for about 15 years. And towards the end of the time with Future Rock, I met Anna through a mutual friend, and we started writing music together for the Future Rock project. So there was 4 songs on the last album that we did with Future Rock that Anna and I wrote together. So I wrote the music and then would send Anna the music, and she wrote the lyrics and the vocals and sent it back. Cool. And so that was our first time collaborating together. Okay. And then about 3 years ago, we started talking about doing this project, Syzygal. And so we've been working on Syzygal for the last 3 years, kind of behind the scenes. Cool. Kept it a secret from everyone.
Yeah, I didn't know. I've really been a fan of Future Rock for a few years now. If you noticed, my hat is a Pretty Lights music from 2014, and you guys have toured together way back when. And,
That's right,
different things, and a similar, figuring you guys out as Future Rock. You guys happen to be on a festival lineup. I'm going through, who these artists that are on here. If they're playing with so and so on this, they've got to be worth something. They got to be amazing. The promoters always put on such great sets. They've got amazing artists to promote such fantastic music. One thing we say here at the Wizard is genres undefined. There are new genres all the time.
Absolutely.
We love to pick up new music and promote things. What are other radio stations not playing? What are some really good sounds that are just happening now? And it's so amazing to hear something like Future Rock come out. And I didn't actually know that, Anna, you had worked with, a few tracks with them back in the day. That is amazing.
Yeah,
so you've had this connection for a while now. That's awesome.
It was a really cool honor. I mean, coming from the sort of folk rock world, which is where I have a band called Anna Soltys and the Familiar. And so when we met, and it always had been my dream to do something a little bit more upbeat and sort of, reach a new audience and be able to perform on a new platform. And so, yeah, starting to do this with Mickey was like a dream come true, And then he liked what I did, and I was like, cool, let's, and he'd send me something else, and here we are with Syzygal. So,
yeah, a lot of the Future Rock stuff was instrumental. So, in fact, most of the time that we were doing Future Rock, it was like more of an instrumental project. And so, but like at when I was working on the last album, I became more interested in writing more pop music or music that has vocals in it, to make it more accessible, I think, to the audience. So as we were starting the Syzygal project, the idea was, all right, now everything that I write is going to have vocals, and Anna's going to do them.
That is beautiful. That's wonderful. And you sing them so wonderfully, and you have such a powerful message. That's another thing that, you really can feel live. Did you mention, is this one of your first performances? How often have you guys, played live together? Have you had any since then?
So this was our very first performance, the one at Sacred Rose.
Sacred Rose that you saw.
Mind blown.
Yeah. So the idea, and we wanted to first of all, we wanted to do the first album and release that before we ever played any shows. and we weren't necessarily like trying to play shows, and very grateful that the people from Sacred Rose reached out to us actually the day that we released our album.
Wow.
And asked, they said, hey, we have this time slot available. Would you be interested in playing? And obviously I was pretty floored that they, for a band that was completely new, that had never played a show before, that they would honor us with that opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was amazing. I mean, we didn't really have a choice though either because of COVID and everything. So, you know, I think in our minds we thought we were going to be done with our first album like way sooner, but then this crazy life happened, and ultimately we didn't really think that this was going to become a pandemic album, and it really did. And a lot of those messages, a lot of the things that we talk about were really influenced by what everybody was going through, and I hope that, you know, people can hear that and relate to it.
Oh, absolutely. A few of the tracks that I've been featuring here on The Wizard, one that's been rolling through my brain the last few days, I wake up in the morning and it's stuck in my head, is Control off of Right Path. And that's just got such a powerful message. You know, the upbeat, it's just very, you know, fantastic. And it's very, you know, post-COVID, you know, after all of these hardships we've gone through, you know, and everything's kind of, you know, taped us up or put us in a box, you know, really isolated us quite literally for so long, to be able to take control, you know, of the moment of what you're doing. And again, to be able to see you guys play live versus even hearing it, you know, the studio album, both fantastic, but the energy of it and to be able to experience it is something that I hope people get to experience themselves more often.
It's funny that you mentioned that song. So that one has a special meaning, I think, to us, because really it was the first song that we wrote together after we decided to do the project together. And Anna really captured what both of us were feeling about this project, was that it was like kind of a new beginning for us in a sense, and a new opportunity to really have our own thing completely that we had control over.
Yeah, after having two bands, folk music meets, you know, is some fantastic thing. And again, you know, to come out because,
you know, and being a musician or being an artist or being alive, I think is just, it's tough, you know, and it's so easy to kind of just lose your way or to get to feel alone, to feel confused. And if there's something that you can feel that passionately about, which, you know, at that point I didn't realize was going to come along, you know, like, I mean, we all have other passions, but it was just like, oh, amazing. Let's do this, you know?
Yeah, it's like two stars literally colliding, and you have now so much more mass and so much more energy, you know, creating something brighter, essentially.
You're so just in tune. Do you know what Syzygal means?
What does Syzygal mean? Let us hear. What is Syzygal?
So Syzygal is the alignment of the earth, the moon, and the sun.
Okay.
And we decided on that name because there's three of us in the band. There were more people on stage with us at the festival. We had two backup singers and a guitar player, which we will do sometimes, but the core of the band is three of us. So it was just like the celestial kind of coming to, and this really kind of, you know, this moment that happens seldomly, you know.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really cool. The gravity of everything. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. And again, as somebody who's a fan who likes to listen to music, you know, loves to promote new things, new sounds that are out there, when the planets align, they align, and we can all sort of feel it. It's, again, a huge energy that you're able to produce. Do you have anything down the line after this album just came out this year? Are you looking forward to anything?
Well, so we actually just had a meeting a few days ago where we were mapping out what the next phase of our project is going to look like. So one thing I can tell you is we already have another album completed.
Oh, hey. More tonight here on WZRD. We'll be getting our hands on that.
So it's mixed. Everything's recorded, mixed. It still needs to be mastered, but so we're trying to figure out when exactly we're going to want to release that. There's a lot of kind of pre-work that needs to go into like planning and scheduling stuff out to be able to do the release. But I think we're both kind of the same mindset that in the spring of 2023.
Right on.
We're gonna release the album.
Yeah, it's good to hear. That's a good time. Things are changing. It's have it in your heart already, and spring is a time that everybody's looking for brand new, great music again to really feel refreshing, a whole new year, kind of shave off the old year. Even now we're kind of sloughing off some of the stuff we trudged through, which is why it's wonderful to have been able to experience you guys one more time. To be able to hear the music that you have, because the positive messages, here at the Wizard, we're freeform. We play this, that, and the other. We'll be playing, Mastodon and, some real hardcore metal every once in a while. And that's extremely important. It's important to get out aggression and to, fight for something, better, clean the house, maybe that, helps you. That upbeat, is really fast tempo, double bass. But to have such powerful, wonderful messages. I believe your website defines you as electropop. How would you, describe yourselves?
Yeah, I think we're the ones that came up with that.
Yes.
That was one of the things as we were starting the project and coming up with our website is well, whether you like it or not, you kind of have to define yourself some way in terms of a genre. And so, my approach to that was what are the bands that I think we sound somewhat similar to that we really like, and either synth pop or electro pop. It's synthesizer based music, and it's dance music, and it has pop sensibility and vocals. So,
if you don't mind me saying, it's future rock to a certain degree. For the longest, it's
and
true.
It
it's something a little different.
Full circle.
It's a little more than that. I think it's a lot of different artists. Who are some of your influences besides your own passions yourself?
Yeah. So Caribou.
Okay.
Is a huge influence, and a touch point for this project for me as I'm writing. So the War on Drugs, probably my favorite band.
Here, let me get the next few songs queued up here.
So they're I love them. Do you know the band Junior Boys?
I don't believe so. No.
They're not. Yeah, I think they're coming out with a new album. They are from Canada. It's very synth based, kind of down tempo music. Really, if you haven't checked them out, they're incredible.
They've been around since 1999, including the Wikipedia.
You're so good.
They're still around right now. No,
Yeah.
Junior Boys. I'm a Canadian actually myself. So when anybody drops,
sweet.
That little hot word is, ooh, Canada. They gotta be. They've got something going on.
I think for me, it's. Because I come from this folk rock world of and transitioning into it, the stuff that I listen to a lot and I really love is Hot Chip and Daft Punk, but also any female musician doing her thing to me is just hats off to you, my dear.
So
I forgot to mention Robin, who's my favorite.
Right. I was gonna say also, you mentioned something that's a touchstone to me as well is great female vocalist. Anna, you have such an incredible singing voice.
Thank you.
It's one of those that just sort of grabs, your sensibility. You need to hear more. You're so focused on the lyrics and just the variety of sounds that you're able to have. It's incredible. I'm sure, Mickey, you heard it and we're just kind of floored yourself. That's kind of why you said we need to have more of this, in the world, and to match that up is beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it was great. So I wasn't really present for any of the recording sessions for the vocals in the studio. We work with Rick Barnes, who owns Rax Track Studios. Both of the albums we worked on with Rick. And so once we were ready to record the vocals, Anna would go in and Rick, with his guidance, they would come up with these amazing harmonies and
it was
melodies.
So much fun. And it's awesome is it started out as one thing, Control actually was the first song that we really were trying to figure out, what the sound is, what is Syzygal, what are we capable of? And as I was going in with each new song, it just kept getting better, and more intricate and more fun. And I'm working with Rick is he's like family to me, and so having that synergy I think is really important too, because it allows you to test the waters, and have time to be creative, which we do well together. So yeah, and it's really exciting to see what happens even moving forward, because there is so much evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great sound. It's great to hear everything that you guys have and will continue to produce. It's something that is a great combination of just sounds. It's a great combination of feelings. You were just mentioning some of the harmonies. It's just it's fantastic what you're able to produce and whatever comes of it and continues to come of it. We're all really excited for. Just a little bit curious myself. How long have you both been creating music for, and where did you get your roots from?
Yeah, sure. So, I really started. I got the idea of wanting to like be a performing musician. Really, in high school is when it started grabbing me. I was really into the band Fish. And like many high school and college kids
as
are.
many of us wizards are as well.
Yeah, and I listened to them, a lot of their live stuff, and then I like saw them play live, and like once I started seeing them play live, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. And then I took a class in college called electronic music composition, where they had an ARP 2600 synthesizer and like a tape reel. And we were forced by the professor to learn how to use the tape reel and the ARP 2600, and he kind of taught us like the concepts behind synthesizers. And I was grabbed by that so much. Yeah. And then also like at the same time, Daft Punk Discovery came out, and I heard that, and I mean it was So that was right around when I started writing music. I took that class. I heard Daft Punk Discovery and Chemical Brothers, and I was like, I want to write electronic music.
Your brain just had a whole canvas. Let's throw it to the wall, and that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's
so
really
that was like 21 years ago.
Wow. Well, congrats. You've done a lot of great work with it, and to be fair, I've queued up Daft Punk side by side with some of your stuff, so. You've done, your own self a favor. I hope your 21-year-old past self is, looking up like, right on, you're doing cool.
I don't think that my 21-year-old self would have believed that I have gotten to do all the amazing stuff that I've gotten to do since then.
You have done fantastic things. What are some of your favorite milestones that you've hit?
Really it's the, first of all the albums that we put out, but just some of the music festivals that I've been able to play in front of amazing audiences, like North Coast Music Festival. We played the first 5 years that was in existence. We played Summer Camp Music Festival, I think 11 years in a row.
Wow.
I played Suwannee Halloween a bunch of times down in Florida.
Yeah.
Wakarusa.
Awesome. So always a great community, finding good community. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Gotta say, it's the same way that I've discovered you guys in your music. Anna, I can't say, you started off with, what was your folk band? Is your folk band?
So yeah, my story is very different.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. How long have you been creating music? Where are you from?
So I was born in Poland, and I grew up in France, and I moved here. So English is my third language, and I never, as I was kind of growing up, I didn't think I was going to use language in any way because I was kind of intimidating, and I wasn't, I had an accent which I wish I still had, because everyone forgets that I'm not from here. But anyways, and I was very drawn to psychology as I was getting older. I went to school for psychology and also for fine arts. So I come from a really strong background of fine arts in my family. And that became something that was really important. That's what I got my degree in. And I also have suffered a lot from depression, and as most of us do.
This day and age.
This day and age. Or any day and age. I mean, it's just like information overload. So I started writing a little bit, started writing some poetry, and then at that point I was really into people like Johnny Cash and Bob Dylan and people of that, and Leonard Cohen, like just these epic, all male but epic
rugged,
singers, and I kind of started seeing this pattern of like these like 3-chord song things that were happening, and I was like, wait a minute, I can do that, And so one year in my late 20s, I asked for a guitar for Christmas, and I got an Esteban guitar, which is this like one you order online for like, or off the TV for like $99. Because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to stick with this, I don't want to spend a lot of money on it. So my mom got me this really, shitty guitar with a really high bridge. It was like, killed my fingers to play it. And that's kind of where it started. And I wrote my first 5 songs, and I found some people to play with me, and now, it's now I have 2 bands.
I guess you were always gifted with the gift. Did you ever take voice lessons in your past?
No.
No. Wow. Incredible. That's impressive for the range that, vocalists would say that you're able to hit. It's
so sweet for you to say that. I don't really think of myself as having a very large range because, and I kind of stay in my comfort zone, but I see some of these other singers like Jennifer Hartswick or something, and I'm like, holy hell, like I can't do that. But I think as artists, we have to remember that we don't have to be like other people. And if we can find our own sort of twinkle, then just rock it.
Yeah, I'll get to some of your milestones. You mentioned being into psychology and fighting through depression. And I personally study musicology and neuroscience.
Amazing.
One musicologist that comes to name is Oliver Sacks out of Germany. He's been studying musicology since MRIs, 1950, 1960. We could look at the brain and say, oh, this is lighting up, this is cool. And it's wonderful to hear people's stories about how music has sort of uplifted their lives. Mickey, my 21-year-old self wouldn't have imagined what I would have accomplished, Anna, you're in the same position. It's like, I didn't know I was going to play guitar at 28, I still had no idea. And now you're both sitting here right now, smiles on your faces, performed the first time together after 2 amazing projects you've both been able to create. And now a third one with the stars aligning, the planets aligning, Syzygal. It's a fantastic thing. Music really does help heal people. One thing I love to try to share is it's kind of free medicine if you know how to access it. Just, tap out a rhythm, listen to something. Y'all have been stuck in my head for a while. Sorry, I've been, tapping into what you have for free lately.
That's awesome. I love
But it's
that.
such a really great, powerful thing because, it'll uplift my mood. It gets me out of bed in the morning. It helps anybody move and get stuff going. Like I said, we'll throw on a metal track and somebody will clean their entire house because of it,
That's it. A psychiatrist once told me, I went once. It was the only time I ever went, and he was asking me my story, and I was telling him all this stuff, and he was like, well, what kind of music do you listen to? And I was like, I told him, and he was like, well, no, I don't think you should get on medication. It makes sense why you're going through all this, and just listen to some happier music.
There you go. just change the dial a little bit.
Not recommending that. I mean, I do believe in mental health. I do believe that, medicine does help people at points, and there's a time and a place, but it is amazing. You sort of are what you surround yourself with,
Most definitely.
I think that being creative, not just writing music, but any kind of creativity is healing.
Yeah.
I've incorporated into my life that's really helped me in my mental health is just spending 30 to 60 minutes a day writing.
Yeah.
And being consistent about that. I mean, it's amazing. Like I've suffered from depression throughout my life, and the times when it's the worst. And when I think back on it, it's when I had these long periods of time where I wasn't creating at all. And those things are kind of tied together. And so I've come a long way in learning how to help myself in dealing with that. But that just going and even if I don't write a song or anything, it's just the act of creating, it's just so uplifting.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Myself, I'm not a painter, but sometimes I'll just throw a paintbrush down and, for a little while, hey, you feel a little bit better just to have something down there. Writing itself, I remember high school English teacher always told me, it was on Fridays, sit down 15 minutes, everybody just freehand write, don't stop writing, whatever, comes out. It's not great, and nobody checks it, whatever it is. But even high school students, you're going through such huge changes, information overload, as Anna, you're saying, is so much. It's you write something and you get so many thoughts down, and now you have worked through so much of your own self-conscious that you can create, a higher sense of yourself. You take control, become something better, go outside and smile at the sun, feel the sun, and know that it exists there.
Yeah. But you kind of you have to experience the lows and you have to experience the reality to be able to come out of it, to be able to feel those highs. So it has a purpose. And I think, especially when I was younger, we're not going to disclose our ages now, but when I was younger, I think coming out of seeing the light was hard. And also there's this weird stigma that I had with myself that was I actually can't create unless I'm sad. And things aren't going well. I was very martyrish that way in college, as a painter. Because I actually went to school for fine arts as well. So that was a big part of my life, and it was just like sort of that angsty painter that smoked all the time and drank wine, you know.
I used to think that I could only write when I was like in a bad place, but I've learned that that's not true at all.
Yeah, I agree. Because in the end, I mean, as artists, we're documenting what's happening around us, and the clearer we are in our minds, I think the better we can do that. Possibly, I mean, that's not even true, but just being open, having the space to see what's happening, allows you to pick up on that and potentially connect with people.
I see you as your very authentic selves to be able to create these things and take these risks and, you know, build upon that.
Yeah, I do a lot of meditation and like practicing being present, and so I've been able to kind of take that same kind of idea or ethos and like bring that to like creativity, and so when I'm going in my studio and wanting to write, it's just trying to get into a place of being present and getting, you know, out of my head and just kind of letting things kind of flow and not trying to control that process. And it's amazing what can come out when you do that. It really is.
So I think this is Syzygal telling us all to just let go and be ourselves and just enjoy, and again, throw the spaghetti at the wall and maybe see what sticks, you know? Is it done? And you know, you got dinner made and it's good. That's wonderful. Do you guys have anything, any tours coming up? Anything that, you know, we can see you coming up, you know, on the plan? Any websites, any, you know, Twitter handles or anything that people could follow you at?
Well, I think our Instagram is Syzygal Music.
Okay.
As far as shows coming up, we don't have anything officially booked. We are working on it. Is all I can say.
If you want to do a Thursday night live here, just get with us, and you are always very welcome.
Be really fun.
We've got plenty of space out there.
We would love to do that.
Absolutely.
So we can talk more about that.
Sure thing. Wizards, you know, stay tuned. You never know what you're gonna get. That's what the Wizard is. Freeform since '74. We'll keep it going. Mickey, were you saying that you've actually performed here before?
Yeah.
Were you with
Future Rock?
With
yeah.
Future Rock.
Future Rock performed here. Yeah.
I'm a little jealous that I wasn't here at the time. That's pretty cool. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
That is fun. So you know the area. How long have you both been in Chicago? Are you from the area?
That's
well,
a
do you want
very
to answer that
poignant
first?
question.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's pretty simple because I was born in Poland, grew up in France, I went to high school in Evanston, and then I've pretty much been here. And Mickey.
So I grew up in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
And I came to college up at Northwestern.
Right.
And then I stayed in Chicago after college for another 11 years, and then I moved away. And I actually just moved back here 3 weeks ago.
Whoa, congratulations on the lease.
The same week as the festival.
The same week as the festival.
Wow.
And so that's another part of the journey that's been really interesting is this whole album is written with Mickey living in Ohio. So we were never in the studio together. We you know, we're in our own little COVID pods, and it was so, God, it gave me so much life.
Yeah, what was that like having to create, you know, so far apart?
Well, I mean, so it was happening during the shutdown, and so a lot of that part of it, we were like isolated in our homes and not seeing anyone. So it was definitely nice to have something of some ability to try to connect while not actually seeing anyone.
How does that process work exactly?
Well, I've always written music by myself, and so the process for me is, I mean, I would write an entire song, you know, all the synthesizer parts, the drum beats, the drum samples, and everything, and have an idea of like the actual kind of arrangement. And I couldn't necessarily hear what the vocals are going to sound like, but you know, I tried to like try to make it as obvious as possible as to like, this is the verse, this is the chorus.
Mic 4 like.
And so then I would send like a fully completed instrumental song to Anna.
Wow.
And then sometimes like the next day she would send me back the completed vocals.
It's such a cool process because for me, like, you know, as a guitar player, like I would have to write all the parts and all the things and think about all the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you know, and I'm like, and so it just took a long time. But when I would get these, like, and he's an amazing producer, you know, so it's like I just got really lucky, you know, and so I'd get these tracks and then it would just sometimes I would just listen to them a couple times, and these visions or words would start coming, and I had my own little recording set up at home, and I would sit there with books and paper and allow myself just to freely kind of record over the song in no particular order. And it always kind of worked out. And then I'd send the song back to Mickey, and then he would sometimes chop it and move things around. And that's, yeah. I mean, I think we're going to continue doing that for a while.
I would. If you have a process that works, there's no sense in like.
Well, and there's like it's meditation. You know, I mean, it's therapy. This is our therapy, and so we're not trying to infringe on each other's therapy.
That sounds like a beautiful, way to collaborate and work together. Yeah, it's just kind of how things, sit together. I think even Rush, Neil Peart composed most of the music for Rush. A small band, phenomenal symphonics. You could even argue it's so huge. One person said, "Oh, this is how I'm looking at it. Here you go, Getty. You can play the synthesizers and the bass, and get it. You can do all this now. But this is kind of how I'm looking to, have it feel. This is, a dream or something that I had. Something came to me, a message. You can just feel the energy. The airwaves. Speak to you in a certain way. That's awesome.
Yeah, the other important part of our sound is the acoustic drums, and so Darren unfortunately couldn't be here today for the interview. But the idea, even though I'll write, I'll do like kick samples and snare samples and cymbals and stuff. The idea is always like, okay, that might be part of the drum sounds in the final product, but we have to have acoustic drums. Like that power has to be there for our music to like kind of realize what we're trying to do with our music.
And Darren is just a killer drummer.
Yeah,
I mean, he's like
drummer.
This.
Thanks for sticking up for your buddy Darren, who couldn't be here. Darren, again, that's one of the differences between studio and live. When I first walked in on your live performance, I had no idea, how you came together, that you were part of Future Rock and previously. Yeah. Darren, you both worked in that project together, correct?
That's correct.
I had seen you guys live before, and I'm sitting there, I'm standing, and I'm like, wow, this drum rhythm is really kicks butt. I'm just like getting really into the synth, the vocals. I'm like, oh, I love this song back at home. And all of a sudden, Darren stands up for the kick. I'm like, I know who this is.
Yes,
this is something that's happening here, and that was one of the coolest moments, the live performance of it all. You were all having such a great time. You're speaking, having a guitarist also, come with you guys live, and two backup singers, and it must be something with your music, or maybe you all, have great relationships already, but it fit in so seamlessly. It seems like you had practiced and rehearsed it, and that you had been on tour all year. I had no idea. I was like,
awesome.
This must be, it's getting late in the year, I believe Andy Frasco was there. He was tired.
Well, I'll admit it. So the first time that we rehearsed with the two backup singers and the guitar player was 3 days before the festival.
Yeah. You're closing on a house.
I know, right? This guy.
Yeah.
And we did, for the record, there's guitar on the record. So Justin Canavan came in and did the guitar parts for that, for the record. And that's, something that also came along a little bit later in the project. I don't know if we originally thought we were going to have guitar.
There was some parts in some of the songs that I was like, there's something missing, and so I was thinking about guitar for a while, but thankfully Rick introduced us to Justin, and so he was on 4 of the songs on the first album. On our second album, the yet to be released album, he's on all 5 of the songs that are on it. So
that's awesome.
But he couldn't play the show with us, so we had a buddy of his, Jonah Brooks, came, and he learned all the parts, and he played with us, and so we met Jonah in person for the first time.
First time at rehearsal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. Well, you guys did seamlessly.
Thank you. Well, one of the things is like, well, first of all, Darren and I have been playing together since 2004. I mean, we just have like we know how to communicate with each other so like naturally on stage. It's second nature. Like when I glance at him, he knows exactly what I mean by the glance.
Right, this synergy.
As long as I do it at the right time.
The
stink guy.
Yeah, we'd love to at one point. So we had Amy Soraya and Raquel Quandreni sing backup for us, and we'll see how lucky we are to be able to continue doing backup vocals like that. But down the line, I mean, Mickey and I have both talked about filling up that stage, man, and just
There's so
just-
much harmony. so
I have
much
some.
going on.
I have some ideas. Yeah, I would love to have more keyboard players up there. So like we did have, some of the set is there's like backing tracks only because we didn't have enough musicians to play all the parts.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I would love for us at some point to get to perform everything live.
Yeah, that is the dream,
Yeah.
is it not?
Dream,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. That is incredible. Well, how many keyboards did you have up there already? I mean, can you grow a couple new arms or something
Yeah.
like that?
I would need to, or learn how to play with my toes.
Very interesting. Well, we look forward to it. Wizards, everybody please, right now, stay tuned. We're going to play a little bit of their brand new debut album, Right Path. Came out in February. It's out now. Go check it out on their website, syzygalmusic.com. That's SYZYGAL music.com. Check out their music. Stay tuned for the Wizard. They're going to come out with a new album sometime next year, so we'll be playing them here and there. It's freeform radio. You don't know what you're going to get, but you're going to get some electro pop, as they say right now. A little bit of the good stuff for you guys. Thank you so much for coming in the studio. We had a great
Cam.
time.
This
It
was wonderful.
We had a great time.
a lot
And
of
we'll
fun.
look forward to coming back and playing some music for you guys.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll have a little conversation about Thursday Night Live.
Yeah.
Wizard listeners, always tune in on Thursdays around 10 p.m. We've got artists all around Chicago coming in, playing locally. We've had Smashing Pumpkins in like 98. Whole bunch of great artists. Future Rock's been out here in the past. So it's some cool stuff. Look forward to Syzygal. We've got one of my favorite tracks. Been stuck in my head for a while. This is Control. You're listening to The Wizard, WZRD Chicago, 88.3 FM.